So it had a new geography that we were imagining in this performative matrix of electronic disturbance theater. I had not met Brett Stahlbaum in person for over 10 years. I never met him. It was all data bodies, real bodies, and trust. But in 2005, I was invited to become an assistant professor at UCSB to start a laboratory that would research electronic civil disobedience, hacktivism, and I thought an addition to that would be border disturbance technologies. That is, I was on the San Diego element. And Brett Stahlbaum had been working since 2000 on locative media projects within an aesthetic frame. And most located media projects are about narratives, hotspots, storytelling, usually in urban spaces. And while it had been interesting to me, I had not really been fully involved in a lot of the work, but certainly Brett had. But one of the things that he and his partner, Paula Poole, had done in 2004 or 2003 was to take it out of the urban space and into the desert. And I thought that was interesting. The other thing that they wanted to do was create an artificial algorithm that would create a prefabricated, risky off-trail spaces, right? Because he was disoriented in terms of his west, south, east. And he always has a GPS on him, right, just to get home. But he loves to go out in the middle of nowhere, right, and for miles and hours and days. So here was a system that would move him and he and his partner through the desert, seeking sublime spaces. I thought this was an interesting use of located media, dislocating it from the urban space into the non-urban space. So in early 2007, we began in coffee having a discussion. And I said, well, there's people dying on the border. Perhaps we can take this algorithm, look at it, redesign it along a simple technology, a locative, dislocative space. And so we wrote this in 2007, and that is to try to discover a new geography of morals, a new geology of morals, in which there's a vertiginous space between the border. We would try to use GPS systems to develop a transporter tools for immigrants. That was the original title. And that would allow us then to mark new trails, new potential safer routes across the desert of the real. The way the tool functions was that we decided it would be a simple cell phone. Here our design originally was around the this particular prototype. It would wait for a GPS signal. You need 3 satellites to connect, right, to give you a bounce of location. Once there's satellite acquisition, the device compass would be initiated. Usually the user is waiting. It takes a little bit to play itself out in terms of compass vision. It would be initiated. We imagined a very simple compass, and we had a neurocognitive designer design it for us, undergraduate, as best use. Once north is kind of marked with the hatch, in it now appears how close the water cache may be, working with different groups. You would hold it in front of you, it would navigate you to water, agua. We also had other thoughts. What if you can't read the small screen, the sun is hot? You could then say agua, and in the tradition of dowsing, it would vibrate as you got close to water, right? If you moved away, it wouldn't, right? So that was another sort of interface in a bare life situation. Again, allowing the trajectory to locate the nearest water. We also thought about the question of translation, what the imagery would be like in simple form. Would it be in Spanish? Would it be an indigenous language? A lot of people from Oaxaca and other places come along. The navigation modes would have other directional patterns that could be aligned. We were thinking, well, what if they need to know where border patrol stations are? That might be another part of the tool. But these were original thoughts, right? Again, a conceptual space of you know, what might be called not even a very good prototype, right? It was just a general thought and design. So the tool then becomes steady in place once you know exactly where it's going. One of the things that we discovered in our test out there was because we originally had put how far at the very bottom over here, you see these little lines, it was very difficult to see. So now we put it right in the center. right? How far you are. The other thing that Amy discovered when we were going to look for water, it brought us right to the water. The poetry was going, all of that. But we discovered that people had actually drunk the water. But the algorithm kept saying, don't go, this is it, this is it, this is the water. So, but how do you tell the algorithm, no, there is no water, where's the next, right? So what happened was that we sat around going, that is a problem. Then Brett and Micah, you know, we dislocated that idea, and then now we're able to tell the algorithm, no hay agua, más agua, right? Go to the next thing. So again, it's long-term testing, and also part of the project was that it was a mobile poetry. Originally, we thought about as a mobile Statue of Liberty with Emma Lazarus. And so we put in a proposal in 2008 to get poetry. And that's when Amy came into the project, because we thought it would be exciting to have not just lyrical poetry, but radical visual poetry somehow involved in it. And I knew Amy's work because she's my partner and we have a child, so I talk to her all the time, and I read her poetry. So I thought, hey, Amy, you know, it's a good way to work together. So here's an early element of the tool. Oh, let me go back. An early test. Here you're walking with the tool. We finally found the iMotorola series 455, inexpensive, midlets very simple, already had GPS installed, so we didn't have to do a great deal, right? And there you can see it's now locating, going green, and so you're off towards the water. But again, the performative element was always that we were going to function within a poetic, performative space in the way that all of these things play out. Because then one can navigate the over-determined definitions about what technology is supposed to do, or what are the legal limits of technology, and of course the wider definition of what is the border. So, yeah.
I just was going to add that the way that we know, so to program in where these water caches are, is in fact dependent on working with NGOs like the Border Angels and Water Station Inc., and that the information has to be updated. It's good for only a very short period of time. Even evidenced by our trying to you know, test it and find a water station that had already been used. So that's one thing we've been brainstorming about, and as you can tell from this presentation, we're still very much in the development stage of the project.
And what's interesting is Waters Inc. is sort of right end of the wing, right? Congressman Duncan, it's his brother who runs Waters Inc., right? So it's a kind of a right wing, but they believe in human rights of water and saving people's life. And then Border Angels, which is the complete opposite. So that's an interesting outcome of the gesture.
Okay, and I was also going to say that some of these, the one poem, Dubliners, was actually written for ICEA 2009, which was in Dublin, so the expected audience, language-wise, was not, that's not a poem that necessarily is going to end up on the tool. So we've been dividing the poems into various sets as well. I'll read you the next section that I wrote. Clearly we have very different styles. I need to get something on the page.